Do you think it's unethical for a superhero to enter a weightlifting competition using this?
We're not on. Oh, we're on. Can you hear me? Hey, how are you guys? All right, that wasn't very good. It's early, I know, but how about one big scream for the guys in the back? Ready? 1, 2, 3. Much better. All right, I'm going to bring them up. This is a Q&A. You know that, right? So have lots of questions. Hands up. Are there mics out there? Is somebody walking around with mics? We got them. They'll be roaming around. So just when they see them, I'll ask you. The only rule, when you ask a question, direct it to one person. If you direct it to the whole panel, we'll have one question and the hour will be over. So make sure if you don't direct it to one person, everybody's going to boo you. All right, practice one time. Everybody boo, go. All right, and you'll be banished to the corner. You won't be allowed to ask your question. All right, first up, we got them lined up here. I see Charlotte Chung, folks. Next up, we have Vanessa Marshall. How about Susan Eisenberg? I see Fred Tatasciore. Tom Kenny's here, folks. Last but not least, Phil Lamar. All right, that's everybody. Okay, yes. How are you guys?
Good.
Great.
All right, we're going to have...
I'm sitting on the crack.
Oh.
No, that's good.
That's nothing
my crack
new.
is on a crack. I love it. Feels good.
All right, we're going right out to the audience. So who do we got? Where are we? Where are the microphones? Somebody wave their hand. I see lots of people with questions. Got one right here. Yes, go.
Hi, this is a question for Phil Lamar. You seem to be very...
Black?
How long have you been black?
You seem to have a very wide range of the voices that you can do and be very flexible with that. How do you kind of prepare to do different voices? Do you focus on a mouth shape or where the sound is coming from, or?
Generally speaking, I start with the text. I think everybody has a different approach, but for me, it's about reading the description of the character, looking at the description of the character or the drawing or whatever, and figuring out, okay, what do I think that character sounds like? And, sometimes they will have just, like adjectives saying, he's arrogant. And I start to think, okay, what's an arrogant placement? And then you keep reading on and try to put them all together into a voice that represents the ideas that the writer's trying to put across as much as possible, and then adjust from there. What you're talking about, I have friends who are much more technical in that way, like Dee Baker. Oh, yeah. D. Bradley Baker will talk about, well, when I do that sound, I shut this chamber of my... I'm like, chambers? Yeah. I didn't know we had chambers.
Is Marilyn here?
Right. But for me, that's my approach. You did not do a behind the green door reference.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next up on this side, go ahead.
Hi, my name is Shelby. I'm from Chicago, and my question is to any one of you who want to answer, but I know for me...
Hey.
Sorry.
Pick one.
I'm nervous.
Pick one.
Does it work?
This will take an hour.
I'm sorry. I don't know
She
all
said
of their
anyone.
names.
All right. If anyone else answers, you guys know what to do.
You said Tom. My question is, when it comes to finding an agent, after you've practiced, I've read books, but how do you find someone who's not going to rip you off? What does that step look like to actually, do they find you? Do you find them?
Wow, what's the question?
How do you find an agent that's not going to rip you off? How do you find one?
You know what? I'm just like a loyalty guy. I've had the same agent since 1987. So I basically...
And he hasn't gotten paid yet.
Yeah, I'm still waiting. I hear the checks in the mail. But no, my agent, Marsha Hurwitz, was first at one agency, and then she went to a different agency and kind of took her stable with her, and including me and some other people like Charlie Adler and stuff like that. So, I'm basically the guy who married his prom date And so, you know, I got married to the person I went to prom with, and we're still married. You know? Yeah.
Thank you very much.
But you do have to be careful. You do have to be careful. Ask around. I mean, if I was looking to change agents, I would ask, you know, any of these people that I work with every day, you know, what do you hear? Do you like your agent? Who do you recommend? I mean, really, fact finding is really, really important when you're looking to sign with somebody.
Thank you very much. Go ahead.
This question goes to Mr. Lamar. Thank you very much for coming here. My question has to be about, you know, you do the classes, you get the coaching, you get the agent, and you start doing auditions. What should the next step be? Should you get private coaching? Should you still do classes? Are there still more books to read?
Well, I mean, you just skipped a whole bunch of steps. But if you get to that point where you're getting auditions from an agent, then that means you've already done a ton of work, wouldn't you guys say?
Yeah.
And what you do then depends on what happens. If you get auditions but not jobs, then you need to go back and sharpen your training and your instrument, I would say. But for most people, it's the steps up to that point, doing the training, you know, getting the acting training, getting time behind a mic however you can, either with, you know, friends who are doing animation or just practicing on your own. My buddy Tommy Smeltzer, who started as an engineer, he says whenever anybody comes up to him and says, I want to get into voiceover, he says, go home, read out loud for an hour every day for 2 weeks, then come back. The purpose of that is to get a sense of your own voice, to figure out how to read words off a page without sounding like you read words off a page, and also to measure your commitment. Because he said nobody's ever come back.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Next up, over here. Go ahead.
Hello, my name is Mike. I'm from Chicago. I'd like to ask everyone, but I understand. So this is going to be directed at Phil Lamar. I know Chicago leans towards industrial and commercial with recording. What would you recommend for trying to tailor your demo to be closer to the video game and animation industry?
Anybody else have an answer for this? Because I don't.
This might be a good time to throw to the aforementioned D. Bradley Baker's invaluable website that you know, our colleague D. Bradley Baker, who's this amazingly talented voice actor that can do 8 zillion things with his voice. He was getting asked these questions a lot, and a lot of times he wasn't thinking about the answer till afterwards. Oh, I should have told that person. And so he kind of codified all of the questions that he'd been asking, the answers to those questions, and put them on a website. And what's it called?
iwanttobeavoiceactor.com.
Yeah, it's really great. Like, it's one of those ones where you look at it and you go, man, I wish this had been there for me to just look up back when I was, you know, trying to figure out how stuff worked and just kind of, you know, bumbling and stumbling around. This would have saved me some steps. And Phil is such an intensely a Vulcan logical person, and very D. What did I say, Phil? You are too. You know, he's just so cogent in those in his answers and in the way he states things.
Yeah, sorry, because I'm a really bad person to ask about demos because I didn't have a demo for like the first 5 years of my career.
I've still never had one.
Yeah,
I don't have one.
I don't have a
either.
demo.
You already said that yesterday, and it
She doesn't have a demo?
No, no.
But
demo.
if you are making a demo, and the rules keep changing, you're gonna have, it has to go a little shorter. Some people like to do animation character demos and separate them from video game demos. I don't know if you need to do that, but at least just give maybe 10 characters or so, show a good range, and like, oh gosh, just what'd you say, like, how many seconds per character would you think would be?
Man, you don't want to overstate
Yeah.
your welcome. And like you were saying, Fred, like the rules of this kind of tend to be fluid and change all the time. Like what they say a voiceover demo should be in 2018 isn't what it was in 2010 or 2014. So you kind of, I mean, where would you go to find out what the industry standard is at a given time?
Truly, and what I have found though is that they do like to make it sound like it was taken actually from a show. Like, so it's good to have the music in it. They want to hear what it sounds like in a scene, as opposed to just like, here's a bunch of voices I do, you know, which is kind of what I did, you know. But that was back in the turn of the other century. But fighting that Kaiser.
Watson, I need you.
But definitely, yeah, they're going for shorter and shorter. I know that, but just a very good produced thing.
But you're right that like production sounds and value, like even if you're really good at voices, if it's just you doing it into your phone while you're, and you can hear traffic outside your window and stuff like that, they're gonna shut you off no matter how talented you are. So the fact that like it's professionally done and that you went the extra mile and actually have production and stuff, that will keep your demo on their desk or on their computer rather than getting shunted off into the circular file.
They want to hear what it'll sound like in a show or a movie, as opposed to like in the old. It's like music too. If you're making a demo, you used to just be able to write a song and play it. Now they want to hear it fully orchestrated.
Good point.
That's the same thing with animation.
It can cost a lot of money. So you want to shop around and make sure, that it's going to be quality, that you can trust the person, because they can be from $1,800 and up, because they have to build the spots. You may not have any professional jobs at that point in your career. You haven't worked yet. So they have to create those for you, whether it's commercial, promo, animation, and that costs a lot of money to start from scratch.
And you do get what you pay for like sometimes, but then other times, there are users or people who overcharge and stuff. So again, like we were saying to that earlier question, you got to be careful and do your due diligence, check around, ask around.
Another good website just to pipe in is Demos That Rock or VO Buzz Weekly. That's a show every week that tells you exactly what to do to get in the business, and it's by people working in the business. So go to Demos That Rock. That'll tell you currently what they're looking for. Just another resource.
But yeah, we do come most of us come from a little bit earlier time. We've been doing this for a while. So with us, probably by the time
3 whole years.
Yeah, you're the
Been
newbie.
a long, grueling road.
Yeah,
3 whole years.
You're probably the person who can answer these questions better than anybody about what it is now, because we came up in a world where by the time you had enough voices to put on a demo, people already knew who you were, and they go, I don't need to hear a demo for Tom. I know what Tom can do. I know what Phil can do. Yeah, I know Fred, So, it's...
But Charlotte and I did a panel the other day, and I was like, you need a demo. And Charlotte's like, I don't have a demo. And I was like, what? But Charlotte came from on camera also, and that's a different... When you come from on camera, being on camera, doing things in front of the camera, then you want to do voiceover. That's a different transition than starting out just in voiceover.
Definitely.
True.
Thank you very much.
Question.
Next up over here.
Hi, I have a question for Fred. I'm sorry, I don't know how to pronounce your last name.
What's that? I don't either. It's really hard. It's like happy birthday to Fred. Fred, I got, and then it's to test. Well, okay, Italian it's Tatashore, and then if you're doing American, you got to do the hand, and then American it's Tatashore.
Good to
but
know.
it's an impossible name. I understand. Anyway, hey, how you doing?
So, hi. So you play a rather obscure video game character I really like called Slam Bam from Skylanders, and I was curious if you could tell me anything about how you got into that role.
About what?
About how you got into that role.
Your role in Skylanders?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what was the question?
How did you get the role?
How did you get the role in
I
Skylanders?
auditioned. Basically, how it wasn't from my demo, I don't think. No, it was basically like for a lot of us, we'll get the specs ahead of time. We'll get a picture, hopefully, of the character, which I love, and then a description. The specs are the description of the character, and then I will try to figure out what they want from the description. And Skylanders is really good about laying out a good, simple. Just here's the guy, here's the log line, and here's your guy. And then it leaves you open. So you're like, you'll try maybe 3 or 4 versions of like, I'm gonna blow you up. I'm gonna blow you up. I'm gonna blow you up. And you do like different versions of that, and you see which one they like. Then hopefully they bring you in. You say, which one did you like? And they say, none of them. No. Then you bring them in, and then you kind of go from there. That's kind of how it worked for that at least for that character. Absolutely. Thanks.
Thank you very much.
Wait, Jeff, can I, since we're mansplaining the hell out of everything here, ain't none of y'all got questions for the women.
I do.
I just wanted to throw one thing out, sort of a FAQ. People always say, well, you guys don't have to audition anymore, do you?
We do.
You always have to audition in voiceover.
Tim Conway was auditioning. Yeah, like last year, I was like, oh my, are you kidding me?
You know, and part of it is, on camera, they can sort of look at something you've done before and say, oh, let's hire you to do that in our picture. We'll just give you a different, suit, But in voiceover, you're always creating the character anew. And each creator needs to hear the voice you're gonna do for their character, their show. Everybody has a different tone. So they're never gonna just hire Tom to do SpongeBob's voice in a different show. He's gotta come up with one of his other 900 voices.
Well, and they also like to stack up those recorded voices next to each other and see how they sound, orally next to each other. Like, wow, I really like this voice and this voice and this voice. Let's see how they are on the ear, to the listener's ear when you mix them all together. And sometimes the sum of the parts is different than the individual Legos. So, but yeah, you're right. I mean, it's so not sexy, but we, our whole life is when we're not like in a recording booth, making voices for cash. We're auditioning, trying to get a job where you'll be in there in a couple of days making voices for cash. So it really is like this treadmill that you're
like fishing.
Always on.
You're
It's a treadmill that I really like. Yeah, you always got your lines in the water. You're checking your traps. I really like that life. Yeah. But it's hard. Sometimes it's hard to explain to civilians. Like especially if it's somebody that's used to going to the same office for 40 years, like Dunder Mifflin or whatever. They're working at the paper company, and they're just like, how do you do that? That seems like a weird way to live. And you go, I guess it sort of is, but it becomes normal to us after a while.
Yeah, you're constantly reproving. You may even be a part that you've had already.
Stuff's
and
always
then a new
ending.
show comes up, and you're going to re-audition for that same role.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. I'm sure you've had to re-audition for Wonder Woman, right? Because they're like, we're not
Yes.
sure if we want her Wonder Woman for this series or whatever. Like, yeah, we're always having to re-audition for voices that we already did. You're like, didn't I get this gig like 4 years ago?
I do it yesterday.
yeah, exactly.
All right. Next up, go ahead.
Hi, my name's Kristen, and I'm from Ontario, Canada. My question is for the ladies. You have to pick one, Susan.
That's a really good question.
Hold on.
I don't know what the question is going to be, but I'd like to answer it for the girls.
So, ladies, do you have any advice for a female that wants to get into voice acting? Because it is a fairly male-dominated profession. So, any advice you have for a female looking to get in there?
So advice for demos? Well, Charlotte's out.
Just women in general trying to get into the voice acting field.
Vanessa? Go first.
How to get into voice acting? I always tell people go to iwannabeavoiceactor.com. I say go to VO Buzz Weekly. So I don't mean to say things that have already been said. Demos that rock. If you lived in Los Angeles, I would tell you about Kalmanson. There are a number of online schools that work, and I mean, I suppose there are differences in gender, but at the end of the day, we're sort of a motley crew, just a bunch of clowns trying to get a job. That demo rules apply just the same for men as it is for women. We're all just human beings trying to make a living. So I don't know that there's any specific path for women alone to sort of forge ahead. I don't know. Other than to step up to the mic and take that risk and have a great time and go for it,
And there was a time where there were just a lot more male voices out there in the industry, and there still are more. But I read for a lot of things that were male-oriented. Like I read a lot of car commercials, and my agent, I'm very lucky. My agent will always throw me in on something that they want. They specifically ask for a man, and they'll say, "Well, let's just throw you in there." And maybe when they hear it, they'll say, well, that's a different way to go. Let's maybe consider that. I read for a lot of sports promos. NFL Network, that was unheard of back, a few years back. So it is opening up a lot to more women. But like we're all just auditioning all the time. And that's really just the life.
I guess what I can share is when I first got in, I was pretty shocked because I did come from the on-camera world that has, I think, just more women behind the camera as well. But when you walk into a voiceover studio, it's like 3 male engineers, a male producer, a male director, a male casting director. I mean, it's like all a sea of men, and then it's you behind the glass. And, And if I'm being really honest, there's like jokes being cracked behind the glass. I can lip read, so I can see what they're saying, And it's like sometimes it could become like, as a woman, it could become like sort of not polarizing, but it sometimes could be intimidating, I guess. But I would say just be confident in who you are as a woman, and just continue to continue on that path and go for it, and don't be intimidated, and be yourself.
Yeah, and I would say that at least in terms of like a change that I've seen in animation. Well, I'm saying you can. Well, go ahead.
What?
Hey, it was a callback to an earlier joke.
No, you can either you can either refute or agree with this, but I would say that a change that I've seen in the 20 years that I've been doing this is that there is a lot more gender equality and opportunities for women. It's much less of a male-dominated boys club than it was when I joined. And in terms of the strong female creators of shows, so like Rebecca Sugar with Steven Universe, and like. And it's just, shows, all these shows at Cartoon Network and Disney and Warner Brothers, and in female roles. Like, I am seeing it be much less of a boys club in 2018 than it was in 1999.
Well, because half the boys got fired from.
Yeah, that's true. They're all gone. There's that war of attrition.
No.
I would say even the majority of the directors I work with are
women.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've never met a female engineer. Not one?
No, I haven't either.
I have.
You have, okay,
Yeah,
but so many of my directors are women.
Yeah. Casting directors too.
Casting directors as well, yes.
Yeah, and writers. It is opening. And as a white male, I want to say.
On that note,
I
we'll go right over here.
I have one quick
Oh, wait.
thing that I want to say that's really cool, that we all can speak on this because there is such equality, in my opinion. And one of the cool things about social media and the voiceover community in general is like a great way to sort of think moving forward is how to lift up other women who are behind you. And I think we all do that with one another on Instagram and Twitter. It's just a wonderful way to educate other women who want to be there too, so you can guide someone else someday.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Go ahead.
Hello, my name is Scott. I am from Michigan, and I would like to ask Fred about vocal warm-ups or vocal endurance for doing things like video games or animation, because you're screaming at a microphone, or like you're doing a gravelly voice like you do in Overwatch. So how do you go about making your voice last so it doesn't crack or you destroy it?
Well, I try not to use my real voice. This is actually how my normal voice is.
No, this is an excellent question. We're laughing because this morning, after the whole weekend and from the whole week, I could feel my voice going, and it was my low end was going away. And so I worried about my neighbors in the hotel room at 7 a.m. because I'm going, and then I finally got the low voice, and then my high end went away. So I'm going, and I'm going crazy, and I'm thinking, and I'm trying to practice Yosemite. Oh hell, I'm doing this voice, and I'm thinking, man, the people next door must hate me.
The guy in the next room is going, those two are really going
They're
at
having
it.
a good time.
Wow.
There's some three dudes in there.
Honey, I feel so boring right now. You never make me scream like that.
Oh yeah. No, it's true. You do have to. There's a lot of stuff. There's vocal warm up and warm down. It's like doing stunts, especially if you do video games.
Do you do scales as a warm up?
I do. I have to. Humming in the car is hilarious. I'm like, yeah. I have to get, because what happens is, it's like it is an instrument. It's a string instrument. You can blow out the bow, the resin. You can blow out the string, and you want to keep. Let's say if you've just been doing this voice all day, you want to be able to do the stuff that gets around that and gets you out of that pocket. And just kind of lightly warm up, warm down, especially if you're yelling. Yelling is very deleterious, and especially if you want to sing. The problem with our jobs is that well, I'll be one day going, rah, and the next day it's like, hey, how are you? You know, or whatever, or Subway, eat fresh. You know, it's like, what, you're gonna ruin yourself. And so you wanna be able to kind of keep practicing, so the scales up and down, and then shutting up. Really hard to do. Sleep is really good. Jess Harnell talks about this. You know, he's a great singer, and an opera singer told him this. Try to get, if you can, which is impossible, but like a good 10-hour sleep, because it's not just shutting up. The breathing cycle has to come back, and so your breath over your chords actually is important, and rest is actually restorative. And it's hard because I'm an insomniac, so I have to really pick my day when I rest. Then there are a bunch of teas. Throat coat tea, slippery elm. There's this Chinese substance called Nimjong Peipakoa. I know, there's no easier name.
Which we call Fred juice.
Fred juice, which is just crushed kittens. No, it's harp seals. Don't worry. No, it's not. It's honey and loquat and a bunch of herbs, and it's not medicinal. Like you're not gonna feel it like that. It's very good for you. Entertainer's Secret. Entertainer's Secret. Singer's Saving Grace. There's a thing called Rain. There's a bunch of throat sprays. They're glycerin. So there's a lot of good remedies to kind of clear you up, get you restoring. But it's those, lots of water, lots of fluid, and lots of sleep, and then the workout. Sorry for the long answer, but that's just a big part of my life. So good question, and I hope if there's anything I can help you with, come by my table. I'm happy to write anything.
Thank you so much.
Sure.
Thank you very much.
Long-term answer.
Next up over here, go ahead.
Hi, I'm Mia from Chicago, and like any other kid in anywhere, I love Adventure Time and SpongeBob. So Tom, my question is for you. How did you come up with those character voices?
Oh wow! For SpongeBob and Ice King in particular,
yes.
You know, it's like these guys were describing earlier. You know, it's all just looking at those tea leaves. You know, the drawing of the character, the little personality breakdown, and all that, and just kind of making your best guess. You know, with SpongeBob, I was kind of had an advantage because Steven Hillenburg had worked with me on another show, and he just wanted me as SpongeBob. Like, that's the easiest gig that I ever got in my life, where Nickelodeon was trying to push him to listen to other people or use a celebrity. They wanted Fred Savage at one point. I said at a panel yesterday, they were pushing him to use Fred Savage. He's on the Wonder Years. He's hot, you know. And Steve was like, no, Tom Kenny. Tom Kenny's SpongeBob. He sings like SpongeBob. He laughs like SpongeBob. He is SpongeBob. I don't want to listen to anybody else. Other people, Patrick and Squidward and all that, I don't know who they're going to be yet. I'm going to audition for them, but with my bass voice, Tom Kenny is SpongeBob. Leave me alone. You know, and he pushed back against them. Now, Ice King was the opposite, really, really hard. I had to go back, and it was callback after callback after callback, and you start doubting the choices you're making, and then you're going, but I kind of think the choices I'm making fit the clues that I have. So right or wrong, I'm just going to double down on this, and I'm going, and you go, okay, this is my fifth time in here. Is there anything different that you want to hear? Like, am I missing some boat that you can give me a note? And they're like, no, just do what you've been doing. And you're like, okay, I guess they want to make sure that they hate it. Okay, yeah, you know, yeah, we want to make extra sure that we don't like what you're doing. So, and I was not the first Ice King. You know, John Kassir was the Ice King in the original internet short that kind of helped sell the show. And I don't know what went down with that, if he was unavailable or if they just wanted a different tone or whatever. I never really asked Pendleton Ward why they went with a different Ice King. But, you know, another aspect of the business is that we've all been the replacer and the replaced a million times. And, you know, you got to develop that rhino skin, as I call it, where you're just like, yeah, sometimes I'm replacing somebody else. Sometimes I'm the guy getting replaced, you know, whatever. And the only time that you stay away from that as an actor is when it's a wages or renegotiation where they're looking for a cheaper avenue to get their voice done, and you go, no, that would be undercutting all the union brothers, and you know. But so really, my process was the same on both. You look at the picture, you look at the personality, and you just make your best guess. Our whole life is just making our best guess and hoping that your best guess is the one that sounds the best to their ear, you know, and that maybe the thing that you did pops in a different way than the other, you know, 25 super talented people that they're listening to or whatever. So it's kind of weird. You have no control. I would say the only thing you have control over in your career is your audition. That's after that, you just kind of put it out in the universe, and what happens, happens. And so I used to hate auditioning on camera. I felt like I never cracked that code. And I would get work and stuff, but I never felt like but with voiceover, I feel like I really know how to audition well. Like I'm confident in my auditions now in a way that I never was on camera, you know? And I think it's just a 10,000 hours thing probably, but.
Well, but it's also in voiceover, the process of auditioning is so much closer to the process of doing the job.
Right, that's a good point.
Than on camera. Like on camera, I'm going to go stand here holding a piece of paper in somebody's office and pretend I'm a cop on top of a burning building.
Right. And have some really bored casting directors
Eating their lunch.
They're eating their lunch, reading the lines of the other characters that aren't me, you know what I mean? Where they,
Take
help,
it easy.
help. Save me, help me. I'm burning.
Well, yeah. But in VO, the job we do on an audition is the same job you're gonna do if you get hired.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next up, over here, go ahead.
I'm Dell and I'm from Naperville. This question is for Susan. What was your hardest character to voice for?
What was
your hardest character to do the voice for?
They're all hard. I guess there were a couple that were hard for different reasons. Like when I did Injustice, voicing Wonder Woman for the game was hard because she was so mean. And it was hard for me to play her so mean when I'm used to playing her like a hero. So that was hard. Not physically hard, but just like up here, it was hard to make that transition and to do it differently. I've been really lucky. The hardest thing to do for me has been like when I have to die, like in that screaming and I'm getting killed and there's like an ouchie and all of that. That's real. That's yes. The being hurt, like having a lot of ouchies, that's really hard for me. And it strains your voice, like Fred was saying, you have to take care of your voice, and if you have a lot of ouchies, it's hard to take care of your voice. Yeah.
Thank you.
Good question.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Next up, go ahead.
Hi, my name is Ivy. I'm from North Dakota. Last year I asked this question and it completely derailed the panel. So this is for Susan and just Susan. I was wondering, have you ever experienced like a situation where you were so certain that you got something and then you were rejected or put down, and how do you deal with that feeling?
I think we have that all the time. Like you go in, you give it your best shot, you think you nailed it, you think like, I just could not have done that better, and then you don't get it. And you just have to develop a thick skin about it. There have been a few times where I thought I did not get it, and I did get it. And that was surprising as well. For whatever reason, I thought I wouldn't get it, and I did. Maybe I walked in and there were a lot of celebrities in the room, and I thought, oh, they're gonna go with a celebrity. And they didn't. They went with me instead. So you just have to be really thick-skinned about it. You really do. You go in, we get paid, our job basically is to audition for work, and you go in and you give it your best shot, and then you leave. And then you turn the page, and you just hope for the best.
And there's more auditions coming down the pike tomorrow.
If you're lucky, and I think everyone up on this stage is fairly lucky in that we audition, pretty much every day. And so there are a few that come down that you just want so badly. The copy is so good, or the character is really interesting, and it would just be so fantastic to give voice to that person. But you do your best, and you don't second guess it, and then you walk away. And then you hit the bar and you drink.
A lot of drink.
And you drink a lot.
Thank you so much. You guys are my heroes.
That's a joke, kid.
Thank you very much. Next up, over here, go ahead.
Hi, my name is James from Chicago. This question is for Tom. Tom, being part of SpongeBob is one of the more iconic, memeable, for lack of a better word, shows that have been around. My question is, are you ever in the recording booth and just realize, oh my God, what I'm saying is going to be quoted to me for the rest of my life?
Well, you know, I mean, all of us, like we said, we're just kind of ham and eggers, you know what I mean? Like, you know, we step into the ring every day and you do your bouts.
Ham and
you know?
egger?
Yeah, you're a ham and egger, you know.
You Mickey Mouse, man.
Yeah. But you know what I mean? Like your attitude is still like a ham and egger. You're going in and you're at the, you know, you're not sure where you are on the fight card, you know what I mean? But you go in there and you do your thing and you hope that you're moving up. But you know, we're all just working. And with SpongeBob, started out like every other show. It was a 7-minute short that we were hoping would become a pilot. And then the pilot was a pilot that we were hoping would get picked up for a series. And then we were hoping that the first season got picked up for another season or two. And now it's 20 years later. And it was about maybe like 2-3 seasons in where we started realizing like, wow, this is actually a little bit special. Like occasionally there's a show, right, or a character where you go, wow, this is kind of defining in a way. Like this pops for people. Like this is more of a part of the fabric of people's lives than just the average thing that they watch for 20 minutes while they're doing dishes or whatever. And you know, with SpongeBob, it's been around for so long, and it's multi-generational. If something sticks around for long enough, like Futurama or SpongeBob, then that's when you start going, wow, you know, somebody that was 8 years old or 10 years old 20 years ago in 1999 when SpongeBob debuted, you know, they're 28, 29, pushing 30 now, and they got kids sometimes that they're all watching SpongeBob together, and that's kind of this mind-blowing. You're like, wow, with great power comes great responsibility. You know, you're like, wow, I got bitten by a radioactive sponge 20 years ago. I never even knew it. You know, and it's like. Yeah, so it kind of is like this heavy responsibility, but it's so nice and it's fun that it's a product that we like. You know, I like SpongeBob and I like the people that make SpongeBob and I like the cartoons, and I think we feel that way about the shows we work on. So it's not like you work for a company that's, you know, it's not like you're making Daisy Cutter missiles or whatever, you know, and you're going, yeah, I don't really feel good about this job, or Exxon, yeah, BP. So you know, it's kind of heavy. Like you don't think about it all the time, but when you come to cons like this, it's really nice. Like you kind of leave walking on air going, wow, all I ever wanted to do was make funny voices in cartoons. That's all I ever wanted to do while I was watching cartoons as a kid. And now I'm doing that, which is nice. But there's this whole other byproduct that I wasn't even thinking of that's like a whole nother level, you know, where it actually seems to help people a little bit get through tough times in their life and stuff. So yeah, it's a trip. It's a pretty amazing feeling.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah. Next up, go ahead.
Hey, this is Ziggy from Detroit. I wanted to ask Susan Eisenberg and of course Phil as well. Justice League was this apex of superhero cartoons, of superhero animation. Just wondering what chances there are we might see it again on a streaming service or somewhere else, and what fans can do to try to help that happen.
I'm glad you asked. There will be a streaming service, won't there be? Like Warner Brothers or DC is going to have a streaming service?
I assume so.
Yeah, so I think...
Wasn't Unlimited on Hulu or Netflix or something?
Yeah, but it's not now.
Yeah, my kid was watching it. He watched it all, yeah.
Yeah, I think they pulled it because they want to stream it on their own services. But there is, if you would like to see a Justice League reunion, might I suggest that you go onto Twitter and you tweet with the hashtag JLReunion, and we're trying to get that off the ground. We would, you know, love to bring it back as an animated movie, because I think the fans would like that. I think...
Viva la raza!
Definitely.
Yeah, I mean, the cast has been to a few cons together. We were in Denver last year, and we read from one of the shows, Star-Crossed, one of the episodes that Rich Fogel wrote, and it was magical. I mean, it wasn't magical just for an audience, it was magical for the cast. We haven't been reunited to, you know, really, all of us since 2006 when the show went off. So to be together on stage at any of the Comic-Cons like we have been, you know, it's really special to us, and I think to the fans as well.
Yeah, definitely.
So if you want to see it, just think Young Justice came back, so can the Justice League.
So harangue the corporate
you.
overlords is what you're saying.
Next up, go ahead.
Hi, my name's Larissa, and I'm from Chicago, and I'm going to direct this question at Phil. We know that you can, spend a lot of money in assembling your own home studio, but do you spend more of your time recording inside of the recording studio, as well as auditions? And is it more valuable to be located near where those studios are, like in LA or where all of the studios are located?
That's an interesting question. I have a booth at home, but I primarily use it for auditions. Every once in a while, I will have to record something that's broadcast quality, and it's good to have that capability, but it's not really necessary, at least in my experience. Most of the time, you just need something that can get you a clear enough, unobstructed version of your voice, your performance. That's what they need to hear for an audition. As far as actually working, were we talking about this earlier about the VO? Susan, did you say that out here about?
I'm sorry, I'm going to just interject. I think unless you've got a client that specifically requests that you work at home for them, and they want you to install an ISDN line, and they're very specific that you will not get the job without having a home studio, for the most part, I audition at my agent's office and I work at studios. Not to say that most of the people I know at a certain level do have the capacity to record at home, but it's not a necessity.
And you had said something earlier, I thought, about where animation, oh, that's right, it was in the earlier thing. For promotion, commercial voiceover, that stuff has sort of broken out. You can kind of do that from anywhere, just because, digitally speaking, audio can be sent at a professional quality. I mean, like I was saying before, the technology that broke the music industry opened up the VO industry. Although with animation, it's slightly different because it is a creator collaborative kind of process. People want to see your face. You got to be together to work together. So that, I think, requires a little more geographic desirability than perhaps some of the other realms of VO.
Yeah, in animation, that creator likes to look through the glass and see you. They don't like to have to do a phone patch to wherever, like some place out in the desert or, wherever you're at. It's kind of a pain in their neck, even in 2018 with the technology the way it is, for them to hook up an ISDN line and unless you're some celebrity or star actor that they really want. If they're just looking for a good, solid journeyman voice actor person who's versatile and can do 3 roles on the show, then they want you to come in, and the majority of the animation we do, obviously commercials and video games are different, but I would say the majority of animation I do is ensemble.
Absolutely.
Everybody's there.
They want you there.
On SpongeBob, everybody's there. On Adventure Time, everybody's there. On pretty much every show that I do, for the most part, with some exceptions, it's full cast. Everybody's there. So you don't want to be the guy who's the pain. Oh, we got to do a dial. We got to do a freaking ISDN to Kansas or whatever. It's like, they don't want to do that. It's a pain in their ass. So it's and I don't have, exactly. Tom Kane is the exception, but he does live in Kansas. But he was already a really established guy.
Everyone knew who he
before
was.
he took all those accounts and said, "Hey, I'm going to Kansas," and they said, "Wow, we love him. We'll call into Kansas." But I don't even have a booth in my house. Right. I hate technology. I suck at technology. I like to keep my
He's got
work
like a Breaking Bad cell phone.
Yeah, exactly. I have 1 television and 14 record players in my house. I do, but I like to keep my work life and my professional life separate anyway. I like to come home. I don't have any memorabilia in my house or anything. It's just like, okay, once I'm done in the cartoon vineyards, I come home and my life is this other thing. Singing in the bathtub. Everybody's different. But Fred and I were saying here, there's a lot of places in LA. As long as you don't live out in the boonies, if you live in Los Angeles like we do, there's places there's a place called the Voicecaster in Burbank that does a service called VO and Go. It's $10 for 10 minutes, and you get a great engineer, and you're helping like a little startup a privately owned business in Los Angeles, trickle down economics, and you go in there with a stack of copy that you've looked at ahead of time and you know what you're doing, and you just go in and you work your way through that copy, and you can get through a lot of copy.
Oh, they're great. And then they send it out to the right place.
They send out, it sounds good. You have a director where, with good ears where they go, hey, maybe if you put a little more smile in it, and you go, oh, I wasn't thinking about that. So I think there's a lot to be said for that, but some people are super techno.
Some people
I'm
are super
Amish.
techno. I'm Amish.
I'm one
too.
chromosome away from being Amish.
And then there are also if you're traveling around or there are kits. The technology is getting better that you can
Yeah, if you're a
actually
promo
record.
guy, right?
Yeah, and you can record in a hotel room, and even for auditioning, you can do a passable audition. But again, they like good quality. They really do. They will frown on the
And
bad.
to that, Fred, this is good for you guys here. If you're anybody aspiring towards voiceovers, I hear, because we do our auditions at the same place, I hear from people all the time where they go, hey, I'll go into a place and they go, hey, thanks for sending us auditions that don't sound like crap. And I go, oh, really? And they go, yeah, so much we get. And they said, if it sounds like somebody recorded it on their phone or something, we're like, forget it. They didn't care enough to put any effort into this.
And
screw them. We're not listening to their audition. And so it's worth $10 for 10 minutes. That's nothing. And it's all a tax write-off, of course.
Right, and they
business
like to
expense.
know that also the quality is important, because if it's through the phone, there's a lot of overtones and voice part that they're going to miss. And so they want to make sure they're really hearing again like it's going to sound in the show. It doesn't have to be state-of-the-art Imagineering, stuff. But
I think you have to be good at technology to have that home booth and use it to your advantage, which I'm not. So, you have to be that person who knows how to use it and is good at it. And I've just decided to abdicate that end of things because I don't care. And my house is always a bedlam anyway. There's always FedEx guys coming to the door and dogs barking and kids screaming. So it's like, forget it. Daddy's working.
A good starter mic is the Apogee mic Plus.
Apogee.
And then a good starter headset would be probably like the Audio Technicas, the 50s. Those are good, and they fold up, and always get a pop filter.
Yeah, there's a thing called the Chaos eyeball. There's a few that are just like a foam rubber covering. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, did I say chaos? I'm sorry. Let me give you bad information. No, there's just some great things that cut out room tone. Chaotica. Yeah. And so, there's some good stuff that cuts out room tone and stuff.
Thank you very much. Next question.
Hi, I'm Doug, and I'm from Darien, and I'm just wondering, for Charlotte and Fred, what has been the most rewarding experience or thing about working in Overwatch?
What was that? Sorry.
What has been the most rewarding thing or experience about working in Overwatch?
Gosh, there's so many things. I think I said this at our panel too, but one of the things that I have personally gotten from it is laid. Oh, okay. Sure, that too, I guess. No, I'm just kidding. I think that it's the first project in my 12 years of being in showbiz that has been so inclusive and so diverse. If you feel like you are a gorilla, then you can identify with Winston. If you feel like a little rat, then you can be, Junkrat. If you feel like if you feel like if you're a man and you want to play a woman, you can play a woman, and they're all sort of, okay, this is like I could go way back. Okay, so back in the day when I was playing Street Fighter 2, I've told this story before. I've always wanted to play Ryu, but I would always pick Chun-Li because I thought, well, I guess that's who I'm supposed to pick. And then my boy cousin would end up, picking Ryu. And it wasn't until I became an adult that I realized, why did I feel compelled to do that? I didn't have to do that. I could have totally picked a male character, and I see a lot of crossover for that for Overwatch, and what that has given me is a type of confidence that I didn't even go into the job having. I just thought, oh, she's this cute little Asian girl and whatever, she'll just voice this supporting character or something, and little did I know that that was not the intention of Blizzard. That wasn't what they wanted her to be. They wanted my character in particular to be a leader, and that was something that has changed my own identity and the way I feel about my own self-confidence too. So I think for me personally, the character that I particularly play was something that impacted me in my own personal growth. But that said, then that has led me to be, I think, a better representation of her and the game for the fans. And seeing that and having that fan interaction also has definitely changed my life and has given me a platform that other projects haven't given me. So a sense of gratefulness as well.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next question, go ahead.
Hi, my name is Timothy, and I live here in Chicago. My question is for Tom. Last year in Chicago, I saw and loved the SpongeBob musical. I assume that you've seen it at this point, so I was just wondering what your thoughts are on Ethan Slater's take on SpongeBob and the show in general.
Sure. My thoughts on the SpongeBob Broadway musical. I loved it. I actually saw it here in Chicago when it was at the Oriental, right? Yes. Yeah, I saw it in previews here, and I got to be honest, I had no expectations. I was kind of suspicious of it, like, does this really need to exist? Why does there need to be a SpongeBob Broadway musical? You know what I mean? I feel that way about superhero movies. You know what I mean? Like I like comic books, but why does there have to be a guy in a leotard jumping around in front of a green screen? I don't need this in my life. So I'm a weirdo. But then when I saw the show, I was like, wow, it's really good. I really like it, and I thought the cast was outstanding. And Ethan, you get proprietary about the characters you play, and Ethan's the only guy besides me that's ever portrayed SpongeBob anywhere. Like every toy, every game, every commercial, every episode of the show has always been me. Everything for 20 years. Wow. And Ethan was so great at it, and he studied it like he was a SpongeBob kid. He grew up watching SpongeBob, and he just owns that role, and it's kind of his take on SpongeBob. And the whole cast is like that. And then
Is he doing your voice?
He's kind of doing a variation on it, but he has to also do all this physical stuff. He was a wrestler and like gymnast and stuff. So it's a very physical role. He has to tumble and do all this climbing and stuff, right? And like belt like a mofo, like just scream. And it's like, it's really like a taxing part. And kind of everybody in the show is bringing it like that. It's really an exciting show. So my no expectations turned out to be obliterated, and I loved it. And then of course when they said, hey, that song you wrote, Best Day Ever, that's going to be in the musical, I was like, wow, I really want this thing to succeed. Go SpongeBob musical, yeah, checking the mailbox for the checks, but it's hello, Mr. Postman. And so yeah, I love the musical, and I saw it in New York too, and they had made some changes to it that I thought made it even improved it over the Chicago thing, and it's doing great, and I was kind of worried about how it would be reviewed, or if it would be bad for the franchise. Like, if you do like a stanky musical, will the cartoon have to like overcome the stank of that thing? Right, exactly. And to survive, would it be a shot to the solar plexus of the cartoon? And then New York Times and everybody just gave it like super ravey reviews. So yeah, knock on wood, man. I love the musical. In short, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
We got time for one more. Just so you guys know, they'll all be signing downstairs. So when we're done with this, if you want to meet or say hi or come and get something from these guys, they'll all be downstairs when we're done.
Yeah, or ask the question.
And don't leave, because they want to do a picture with you guys in the background, if that's okay.
Everyone in the background?
So don't leave yet, but this is the last question. Go ahead.
Hi, my name is Stacy. I'm from Chicago, and my question's for Vanessa. So, like a lot of people, I very much love really strong female characters, like in cartoons or movies, anything. I just wanted to know, because I find Harrison Dooley so inspiring. Did you have an inspiration going into when you were doing Hera? Like any inspiration you drew from?
Well, here's the thing. The script that I got was called Wolf. And it had all these references to like a star sword and these very strange things that, to me, I'm a huge Star Wars fan and nerd, so I just pretended it was Star Wars, and that worked out for me. And I thought of Princess Leia, and there are a few things that were going on in our culture that deeply upset me in terms of causes, and I sort of plugged in some of those variables as well, and I know that I care deeply about them, and it was very specific. And that's the thing, is we were saying in our panel, we had a women in voiceover panel, that instead of set it and forget it like a crock pot, you send it and forget it. That's your audition. You just send it and forget it. But on that one, I remember really imbuing it with a lot of thought and care. And I'm grateful that I did. Yeah, tons of passion. And I thought of Princess Leia, actually, Carrie Fisher, may she rest in peace, my most powerful mentor. I mean, she's just amazing. And so I was thinking of her as well, another strong, iconic female character, both on screen and in real life. So I would say that specificity is the key when preparing things. Both personalizing things, but also making very strong choices so that one's heart and soul are deeply committed to the copy. And sometimes it works out, and other times, I remember I got the call back and I saved the pass because I thought, this is as good as my life is gonna get. I still have the parking pass from that day. I didn't even care if I booked the job. That was after I walked in and saw a Twi'lek on the wall, because I didn't know it was Star Wars. I would have chucked the parking pass away, but when I got a call back for a Star Wars gig, I was like, you're gonna frame this. Yeah, anyway, you should have, I had a heart attack when I actually booked it. But anyway, yeah, it was an honor. And yeah, I highly recommend caring about things because it seems to help. So there's that. Thanks for asking.
Guys, thank you very much. Take out your cell phones and turn the lights on behind them for the picture if you can. We're gonna have them stand up here. If you want to stand up, hold your phones. They want this picture.